Hey, this is Dag, and you're listening to Beyond Trek Podcast.
Red alert.
Hey everybody, this is Dag, and you're back with... I fucked that one up. Let's try it over.
No, that's perfect. Leave that in.
No.
I love it.
No. It's Beyond Trek Podcast. I have to say it first.
That's exactly why we're Beyond Trek Podcast. Okay, let's name a couple of our traditions. Screwing up the intro, not knowing each other's names. Well, no, we've got that. Being on mute. Yelling at the mute button.
Yeah. So I'm on my new Logitech Brio. I got this for my birthday. I have no idea how it's going to come out, but audience, if you think I look clearer than normal, that's cool. That means it's working.
I like it. Looks nice. I've got one of those. I'm going to have to swap it back to this computer. I've got too much stuff.
Dude,
and
tell me about it.
Jesus. Well, I started this new job a couple weeks ago, and when working from home, I have to use my work laptop to get into our VPN and all that. So my manager was like, if you want to take home a couple monitors, have a whole setup for your work stuff. So I've got in front of me over here, my computer, my personal computer, 3 monitors, Nacho's computer next to it. This one I'm sitting at right here, it's got 2 monitors on it. And kind of at a perpendicular thing is another table, 2 monitors on it for when I hook up my laptop to the docking station. It's ridiculous. It's like a damn computer center in here.
Your house is being assimilated, Jay. Sorry to tell you.
It is. It is. It's being assimilated.
I mean to break
Well,
it.
so now when he wants to go to his computer, he's got to walk here back behind me over to there. So yeah, it's a mess. It's ridiculous. So anyway.
No, I totally feel you. I am recording in a 4-foot by 8-foot box.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cozy.
Yeah. It's always warm in Northern California. So, audience, we are here today to talk to you about Picard Season 2, Episode 8. There's only 2 episodes left. It's called Mercy. And in this episode... this is your spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. This episode was pretty cool. I liked the bait and switch on some of the plot devices that happened. And I don't know. I am eagerly awaiting episodes 9 and 10, much like I eagerly awaited episodes 9 and 10 in the first season of Picard.
Mm-hmm. I kind of thought that, and as we talk about this episode, and we're going to be in for a real ride because Lorenzo's not here. He's our narrator. I'm narrating. Usually I'm the John Madden of Beyond Trek Podcast. I do the color commentary. So this is either going to go one of 2 ways. It's going to be good or it's not.
But it's going to be.
It's going to be.
It's going to be.
It's
going to be boldly.
Oh, I love it. So this is, before we get into it, our play-by-play, I am kind of surprised it's gone by this fast. It seems like that we've only got
7 weeks of Picard already. It's wow.
Right, exactly. So getting into this episode, the Europa mission is coming down. Things are starting to get to the wire, and the last thing that Picard and Guinan needed was to get swooped up by the FBI, and Seven and Raffi are tasked with trying to find Jurati and what she is turning into. So the episode kicks off with a little boy running around with a flashlight in the woods, and he comes across a pair of Vulcans that are doing something. Looks like they were getting water samples. I don't know what it was. And I don't know about you, but the Vulcans have kind of been a little bit of a menace to Earth. Like how many? There was Carbon Creek. We find out Vulcans were there. Was that the 50s?
Yeah.
When they got marooned. Then you've got this group, and
this is probably like the 80s, the 70s.
You know, yeah,
because this dude's a kid.
Right.
And it's
And
2024, so he could be like 50.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say about the 70s. So you're right. There's Contact in the 50s, Contact in the 70s. Who knows when else, besides when the official first contact is made? But I don't know. A lot of visits from the Vulcans. So the way it opens up here is Picard and Guinan are in some kind of like ghost site in a basement, closet, boxes, the place they take you to where they plan to disappear you.
Yeah,
After
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
This is where you go where no one is able to find you ever again. But this guy, this dude, he's convinced that they're extraterrestrials. And of course, in their cover up, they laugh at him, think it's pretty funny, pretty outlandish. But this dude starts off with, and as we find out later, he really has a chip on his shoulder about aliens. So with this teaser here, and you know, I don't know, Dag. Part of me was thinking that we're a little. At first, I was thinking we're a little late in the season to introduce a whole new issue, but maybe not. It's not that it was that bad throwing in a wrinkle, because honestly it's kind of like, well, what else would be going on to cover? And this there are still 2 more episodes, so I don't know. What do you think about them getting dropped into some kind of black site and going through an episode of being interrogated?
Well, my thoughts on this are pretty transparent, and I've kind of felt this way since about episode 3, in that everything that they're trying to do is being hampered somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's beaming into the middle of the air and getting a concussion and having to deal with this whole clinic thing, to getting taken away by ice, to having Sung show up at the ball and hit Picard with his car and have to go back to the clinic, and just one thing after another of hampering. If I could find a better word, I'd try, but I really, really hope that this hampering has created like little webs and lines that come together in the finale. I don't want to be disappointed again like I was with Picard season 1, where I was like adamantly, there's 2 episodes left, we're gonna put it all together, I have faith in them, and then they did what they did and I was disappointed.
Right.
Doesn't mean I didn't like it. It just means that we as fans have really good ideas about how things could wrap up, and when the writing doesn't live up to that, we are disappointed. But in this, I like that they brought this guy here. I liked his story. I just really was like, okay, now we're stuck with the FBI's. One more hampering. There is a Q out there who is trying to do stuff. There is a Sung. There is a Borg Queen out there trying to do stuff. And it's just all kinds of slowing things down. And I'm really worried that there's going to be a cliffhanger at the end of this episode, which is why we bring back, the originals in the next season. And I kind of don't want that. I kind of want there to be closure to this arc. It might be a hot take, but I'm super social and all over the web, and a lot of people are thinking about this on Twitter and Reddit, and they're going, there's going to be a cliffhanger, which is the reason why Picard needs to get the gang back together. And I'm like, I really hope that's not the case. I really hope this is self-enclosed. I really hope that we get Girardi and Raffi and Seven and Rios a better time to shine, and Elnor. I hope Elnor comes back, because I don't want him to be dead.
Right.
You ate your cinnamon roll on episode 2. I want another one.
I agree with you on that. Is if they're going to introduce these new wrinkles, then tie everything up at the end of the season. Don't give us a cliffhanger. That is the reason why.
And I feel it's weird, because it's like, I'm like, oh, maybe they tried to do that a little bit already, because if Rios hadn't gone to the clinic and met her, then Picard wouldn't have been able to get into a clinic. Those little like, okay, so we're kind of tying things together here, but I don't know. It's just not as fulfilling in the plot completion front. On the emotional growth and development front, loads of it. Everybody's getting to face certain demons this season, and they're trying to overcome them, and it's going to be great. And I'm all for seeing that kind of growth.
Yeah, absolutely. I can agree with you on that. So, talking about shit hitting the fan. So now, Raffi and Seven are coordinating a search party to find Girardi. Rios is left behind on the La Serena with the clinic doctor whose name I can't remember, nor her son's name, but that's not too important. But anyway, the gist is
right, they're on the ship with him.
Right, they're on the ship with him, trying to find out if there's been any other Borgification that happened to the ship.
What if she becomes a new Borg queen and Rios stays behind to carry on the mission, and that's why there's butterflies on the medical containers in 300 years?
Let's get a little deep. I mean, the soup is getting thick on that one.
I forgot my tinfoil hat. Keep going.
I'll make you one. And I like this line here about Seven points out that people in this time are having problems with revolving doors. They're not going to be able to handle a Borg queen.
Yeah.
Which is oh no, I'm sorry. It's Raffi that said that. Which you're right. As this season has been very realistic to how the world is today, I think that they have a lot of concern with the Borg queen on the loose, because what's the first thing that's going to happen? You're going to have people that want to be assimilated, then you're going to have ones that think it's fake news. It's not going to happen, so a whole thing going there. So basically the world is ripe to be assimilated.
Yep.
Basically. So there's definitely a sense of urgency for them to find Girardi, because the assimilation of Earth, all you have to do is start in the US and things will spread like wildfire. Which to me, I think, maybe I'm overthinking it, but the concern with that, with some of the dialogue here, seems to suggest that right now in today's time, it is very easy to get any kind of plague, virus, nanoprobes, or anything populated for a very fast takeover. And I'll go ahead and say it. COVID is a perfect example. You want to assimilate the planet, all you have to do is start right here on the home front, and you'll get it spread quickly. I'm not going to wear a mask to prevent nanoprobes because it doesn't affect me directly. That's going to be the...
Have you been assimilated by the Borg lately? Wear your mask. I ain't wearing no mask. You can assimilate me better assimilated than a liberal.
Can you imagine?
Did I take it too far?
Our two right-wing listeners, viewers, have just dropped from that comment. But can you imagine the lack of being able to buy toilet paper and cleaners if the news got out that folks were getting assimilated?
Jeez. You wouldn't have to worry about toilet paper and cleaner ever again, though, if you got assimilated.
That's true.
Never have to worry about that ever again. You wouldn't be eaten. There'd be no pizza.
Oh, my God.
It's exactly what John Lennon was singing about. Imagine all these things are just gone and everyone's living in peace. The peace of the collective.
Ooh.
John Lennon was a Borg. You heard it here.
But, I wouldn't be surprised if people were assimilated and they still had to pay taxes and didn't have health care. Okay, so anyway.
So Seven's like talking to this dude?
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, talking to the dude that... is he the boss of the place or manager of this bar? Basically, they need to get some info on where she might have gone. He says Seven, asks her if she's a cop. Said kind of like, well, would you have a problem if I was? And she gets him to talk after Raffi challenged her with being able to do something like that because she didn't have her Borg implants. Made a remark about her calling her Seven, and Seven asked her, okay, what does that mean to you? So we're seeing a little more of that strained relation between the two of them, which I like. That's very balanced and intercut with the rest of what they're doing, because they're sort of that, what I want to say, you know how it is after you've had a breakup. There's a lot of snide going back and forth, but it hasn't really hindered their mission. It's topical to what they're doing right there. You know, if they need to stop a bus, there's quips about that ties into a thing about their relationship. Same with this. So I'm glad that we're still getting that, and that it's not been dropped, and it's using it just enough balance to make it, to keep you vested in it and not have it be a distraction. So she says that they're looking for the blonde in the red outfit because she's like loco, is gone crazy, and they need to try to find her. The dude says she went that way with a guy with a big red beard. So they've at least got a lead. Find the guy with the big red beard, and you'll find your soon-to-be Borg queen.
Yay!
Yeah. But so then we go back to the basement of the FBI field office, and they're being accused of trying to stop the Europa mission, some kind of like terrorist attack or plot. And he's insisting again that they're aliens, and why would they want to sabotage and stop this mission? So Guinan starts challenging him about what his take of this is. Like, what's his stake in this whole thing if they are extraterrestrials? And he's looking for Wells is looking for anything to kind of get in and catch him on, like the bruise on Picard's hand
from the IV.
From the IV, yeah. And Picard replies, he was dehydrated. After all, I'm only human. So
that sounds like someone who's not human telling me they're trying to be human would say.
Yeah.
But I've never been in a situation where someone has doubted my humanity before, so maybe I would do the same thing.
Yeah, right. So that's where basically they wouldn't need Q to do anything to Renee Picard, because the authorities are going to scrub the launch, and Picard and crew would have broken the future on their own. So which is true. This whole thing, the wheels are just coming off the bus, and now what they're risking is not so much them being discovered as being either aliens or not who they are, but if there's not a reasonable explanation given, that they're just going to scrub the launch. And they've got video of them from the party the previous night being party crashers. So they're definitely getting exposed, and if they don't tell a convincing enough truth, then they've screwed up the future on their own, because the mission gets stopped.
How do you, an alien and an android, pretending to be human, convince someone that you're not an alien and an android pretending to be human?
Ooh, I don't know. And how do you do that when the person interrogating you is basically sold and cannot be convinced otherwise that something's funny there, that you are aliens?
Right.
And again, we're going to find out why he's knows that he's right. Then meanwhile, we go back to the Soong residence, and Corey is still reviewing video logs of her father on a computer. She puts on the Oculus to look at Soong's lab. Well, it's called an aspectus, which which enables you to be able to. What it do is kind of like
it's like a 3D virtual reality lab.
Yeah.
Superimposed, like augmented reality.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Augmented reality. And Q is just standing right there when she does this thing, and she wants to know who she is because she knows that something is not right. Something is wrong, and he gives her a vial that's got her name on it. And Corey also is shown a sequence of the human genome, or something she recognizes a sequence of human genome, and she wants to know if she was an experiment. And then Q spills the beans that Soong did create her, locked her away, and Q holds the key to her freedom, basically. So he challenges her to take that freedom. So she's got there was a gift box that arrived. Don't know if it was delivered by Amazon or if you had to sign for it, if it was, at risk of being stolen from the porch before you got to it. But it's delivery with the vial. It's got the word freedom written and tagged on it. So
very Alice in Wonderland.
It is.
Eat me, drink me.
Right. Yeah. You want the blue pill or the red pill?
Or just the blue liquid that looks like it's in a bullet.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I tried to put myself in her shoes and how it would feel to find out that you were created in a lab, basically. And I really couldn't relate anything to that. I tried to, and I don't think I was coming up with any good relation to that. The closest I could get would be, would it feel like if you were, and I'm just spitballing here, just throwing things out, speaking out loud. Do you think that this would be something akin to finding out you were adopted, or finding out that your parents had you through IVF, like it was some non-standard way that you were procreated and born? Or is this such a unique, there's no way we can imagine or relate to what she would be going through right now?
I think, IVF and all that other stuff, those are all situations where, like, your parents wanted a child, they wanted you're special to them. I think what she's figuring out here is that she was a science experiment, and that's all that Soong ever cared about. And it's a lot like the reveal when Soji realized she wasn't, human, and the trauma that she felt in that. So we're getting a sort of a replay of that.
Right. Yeah. And I do. I think that unless let me take a step back on that. What you're saying is, in those cases, those examples I gave, there was a conscious effort to create that life
and to love it.
Right, to create and love it. But is that not the same thing that was done in Corey's case?
I don't think Soong loved her.
It was just a whole line of experiments.
I think Soon's affection for Corey comes from the fact that she survived as a specimen and could amount to a windfall in contracts and money.
Okay.
If he can prove I've perfected human cloning with augmented results, then every government in the world is going to want a piece of that to produce, enhanced soldiers, or, even workers who can handle the conditions of their labor better.
So he doesn't like Corey as much as a father would love a child, but he loves his success in this person he was able to create. It kind of goes back to it's not like I love you as a father. I love you as you're going to be the key to more advancements and recognition for me, because I've done this huge thing. So you're right. I think that's really where the difference comes in there. So anyway, they're continuing. Raffi and Seven are continuing the search for Jurati, and they're looking for the red bearded man, who they find dead behind a dumpster with his throat cut. I think that was a little extra for Jurati to do, but hey, they think that Jurati could still be in there fighting the Queen's influence, but Raffi, being the ever pessimist, thinks that, well, if Jurati's doing that, then she's losing that fight. And the other thing is that we find more that the Borg are addicted to the collective in a way. Maybe not so much the drones. I'm not sure I can say that it's very possible, but I know that Seven definitely infers that the Queen knows she's not able to assimilate, so she's trying to create a one-on-one connection, like with that man from the bar. And it wasn't enough, so basically the Queen is pissed, kills the guy. And to me, that's kind of like that's what the collective does. It's such a
it chews you out, really, and spits you out.
Yeah, and it's an addiction. It's like this crazy stuff you hear people doing when they want to get that next fix. They'll sell their parents' belongings. They'll sneak money or steal things here or there. Kill people for that, to get that next shot. And that's what I see here in this scene, in this behavior, is that the Queen needs that kind of thing. Like, if I don't get my fix, then I have no use for you. Kills a guy, leaves him behind a dumpster. So they find a cell phone, missing battery. They're trying to find out, well, why is the battery gone? What was it made of? And that's when they make that discovery that the cell phone battery uses lithium ions, a stabilizing metal. And the stabilizing metals were introduced to make those being assimilated into the collective more receptive to nanoprobes. And now Seven, it's kind of like it triggers a memory. When you get that trigger of a smell or a taste, now she smells it, she can taste that it's very real and very, very tangible for her. So, and
it's been 40 years since it happened.
And it's still that fresh. It's still there. Now, here was the part that I was trying to think, okay, well, what about that would make it, why does that have to be used to make assimilating someone's body being assimilated more receptive to nanoprobes? So nanoprobes take over completely, to me. And I get that it's supposed to be one of those, like, here's just a unique thing we're going to add to the Borg lore, but something I mean, why?
I took it differently. I took it as not that the lithium helped the organism become more receptible, but really just primed the tissues for nanoprobe, passage and entry.
Mm-hmm.
It's like tenderizing a steak. The cow does not want to be a tenderized steak, but the lithium forces it that way. And then the nanites have a better means of transport through the biology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's how I took it.
Yep. Well, and so they don't have to go far to find her. There's a lot of banging in their immediate area, and find that the queen is basically sucking on batteries of the parked cars in there, and then runs at Seven and Raffi. I thought I had an opinion about.
She stole that dude's boots.
Yeah. She had a nice boost there, and
She stole his boots.
and boots. Yeah, these boots were made for walking. Walking's what I'll do. So this is the part. This is the trope about this kind of situation that I am kind of tired of. So here they are. You found the person you're looking for. You already know the damage that this person has already caused and what they're capable of. Now you see this freak running across the hoods of cars at you. At that point, how many warnings do you want to give someone doing that to stop before you freaking pull out your damn phaser and stun the bitch? I don't understand it. It's like, I will cut you if you take one more step. Don't let this person get close enough to overpower you. You already know how high the stakes are.
Couldn't shoot her, man. Temporal prime directive.
Oh, the temporal prime directive can be used to answer
All
any
the questions. Yep.
you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
From here on out. Hey, what'd you have for lunch? Sorry, can't tell you. Temporal prime directive.
Yeah, so basically the Borg Queen gets a drop on them from 50 yards away, roughs up Raffi and Seven a little bit, and Girardi was able to come out a little bit, at least to be able to release the Queen's control on Raffi. Girardi had Raffi up on hemmed up on a fence.
As is your background.
Right, which is my background here. For watching the video that we got right there. And so that concludes Act 1. So it doesn't look like, it looks like the wheels so far are just still rumbling off the bus. None of them have been stabilized yet. They're still wobbling.
I really got to hand it to Allison Pill here, though. Like, going from, I know she was in that movie about, I don't remember the name very well, Scott something. And then she was in The Newsroom, and then she was in this. And in The Newsroom and in this, she has played anxious people who are somewhat socially awkward. And okay, cool. But then she gets the opportunity to play this fusion of this character who is socially awkward, but also the Borg fucking queen. And if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, if you're listening to this on Anchor, please give the YouTube channel a try. We have visuals that are kind of cool, if pedestrian. But if you're watching this on YouTube, she's got this ferocity in her face, and obviously the full sclera black eyes of the Borg queen. And it's. The audience at home is like, oh, okay, that's Annie Wershing behind all that. That's great. But it's not. It's Allison Pill, and she has to just push this Borg Queen persona and this ferocity. And it's really cool for Allison. I really like that.
It is, and I think it's a real huge challenge because, to me, Allison just doesn't have that look to me that says this is a terrifying person. It's just she too, like,
she's very unassuming.
Yeah, very unassuming, but she's doing it the best she can, which is good. So it takes us to Act 2. Picard and Guinan still in the interrogation room.
Are you not going to talk about how she just like knocked out 7 of 9 and like tossed her like 5-10 feet away?
I kind of glazed that one a little bit, but yeah, you're right. But here's the thing. After I thought about it, I said, okay, yes, that did happen because we're dealing with a timeline in which Seven she's not a Borg. She was never assimilated. So she has the memories, sure. And some of those, the memories, some of that comes with some of that skill of being able to at least see Borg computer code when she sees it, but she doesn't have the strength. She doesn't have the
reflexes,
enhanced acuity, reflexes, all of that. So yes, that was how Jurati was able to hip toss her away and bounce her up against the trash can. I know.
So back to this basement, huh?
Oh yeah, back to the shady basement. And so this guy Wells is really doing his diligence. He is putting Picard and Guinan into a corner. Every story or excuse they have, he's just no. And you can't get around this guy. And he even knows that Picard could not have gone to a hospital, which got the guy Wells thinking must have been a free clinic, and that leads him to Rios. He's got a record there, been arrested. What the hell is going on with my green screen? I swear to God.
Tiger stripes, my friend.
Yeah. Okay, well, so apparently I have to sit with my face right in the camera this time. Okay, sorry, folks. Didn't get some close-up of Dag. If there's any reason to watch the YouTube video, it was for that close-up right there.
You're my brother. You're my brother.
So basically, Wells is connecting more dots here. He's backing them into a bigger corner, which takes them to a statement that Rios made. Now, I'm going to read this, and then I've got a question for you on that. So Rios had made a completely innocuous statement upon his arrest and asked Picard to read it out loud. So Wells wants Picard to read this out loud. So he reads it. Rios had apparently said he was in a primitive past with a ragtag group of misfits, including a cybernetic queen seeking to wipe out humanity with her old cohort Picard, a crusty old admiral who is now a flesh and blood robot. And isn't that's what Rios said in the ice cage to that guard, just to bullshit him. Okay. And that's funny because I did not think that there was anything taken seriously about that to have it recorded as a statement. But anyway, I digress.
It's another one of those intersecting moments where something that happened earlier in the season is coming back to either bite or help.
Yes. And this time around it bit. It bit him. So
did it though?
Well, it didn't make things easier for Picard and Guinan.
Not immediately, no.
Right. That was just one extra thing that was a loss for their story.
And you said you had a question or something?
That was the question.
Okay.
Was that what Rios was saying when he was in the cage, saying that to the security guard? Because I know that had to have been when it was. There were just some parts of that I must have forgot. I have to go back and rewatch that episode.
Yeah, that was in episode 4.
Yeah. And also the clinic was searched and found Rios's comm badge that was left behind when he was arrested. So now they get separated. So Picard and Guinan get separated so Wells can focus on Picard, do some good cop, bad cop with him. Back in La Serena. Okay, so it was Ricardo is the name of the little boy. Sorry, I forgot about that. So
It's not really
Rios
La
shows the
Serena.
replica.
It's like Confederate La Serena.
Right, Confederate La Serena. But he shows them, Rios shows them the replicator, which, and I think if I were, what would be the first thing you would ask for if you were told, here's this device, it will make any food item that you want it to? The kid asked for cake, different kinds of cake. But Dag, what would you ask for?
Oh, I would ask for a surf and turf sushi roll from Omakase in Roseville, California.
Ooh, really? Are those good?
It's delicious.
Sounds like must be.
I'm a big fan of sushi,
Mm-hmm.
and it's my favorite sushi place in the United States.
Nice. I like sushi, and that sounds like a good one.
What would you ask for?
Oh, I knew that was coming, and I still like I just can't. My instinct tells me that I would ask for a steak.
Mm.
But
what kind of meat? Please specify cut of meat. Computer, I would like a bacon fried ribeye served as rare as possible with a side of asparagus, buttered and garlic, with 2 kilos of mashed potatoes, buttered garlic, bacon, sour cream, and chives.
Ooh.
Please specify style of potato. Russet, you mother. And this is why programming a computer can be hard. This is why you just need to be like computer preference dag 1, and it just replicates ice cream. Oh, forgot.
My appetizer, I would like tomato soup. There are 4,282 variations of tomato soup. Which one would you like? Hot, plain tomato soup.
There are 392 hot plain tomato soup recipes in my database. Would you like heirloom tomato, cherry tomato, regular tomato?
Oh my God, that's right.
Andorian tomato. There are 12 varieties of Andorian.
Right.
The perils of the replicator.
And to me, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Excuse me. I don't really have a whole lot else to like dive into on this scene. It's basically just a kind of a romance thing between Teresa and Rios, which
it's interesting that there is a velvet cake in there because there was a velvet cake last season. Girardi ate a velvet cake in La Serena last season.
Oh, she did.
So it's just interesting that there's another velvet cake there. Whoever does catering for the Picard series has a thing for velvet cake.
The velvet cake must mean something. How does this tie in to the season and the situation they're in?
If you know how the cake ties in, leave a comment.
The cake is a lie.
The cake is eternal.
Cake is eternal. Okay. All right. Especially velvet. I still think that something between this whole Rios and Rios and Teresa thing, something's going to go wrong. I could just see it.
I'm worried about it.
Yeah,
I still suspect that Rios is going to stay back here. He's having way too much fun in the past with real food and matches, and if he could meet Tom Paris, he'd be giddy.
Well, but he can't stay.
Why?
That's
because he's captain of the Saratoga.
Stargazer.
Right.
Yeah, because he's captain of the Stargazer, and so he
it'll be a different Rios. Think about it. If this Rios has the brain of the Rios from our timeline on the Stargazer that was destroyed, transplanted into the body of the Rios from the Confederacy, this Rios can stay, and if Picard returns to the future, it will be the Rios of that timeline who is captain of the Stargazer, who never experienced these events. I know time travel's weird, but it's possible to do that in the story. I don't know if the writers are going to take that approach with it, but it is a narrative possibility.
Well, the thing is that I know you're right, and it's just that that's the thing that can give you such a headache when you really start. And it's because we've never experienced time travel. As far as we know, there is no such thing. Not possible. Never going to happen. So
I think time travel is the real glitch in the simulation that is our universe. Like, you can't reprogram the simulation, and time travel would be reprogramming the simulation.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like any media that deals with things that we have absolutely no experience with. One is time travel, because as far as we know, that's impossible, doesn't happen, doesn't exist. And the other is, well, what happens after you die? No one has been able to come back and say, okay, dudes, this is what happens. Here's some shit that goes down. You can't. So that kind of gives you the freedom of doing, well, there's no such thing as as time travel, so we can do it however we want for our narrative.
And that's largely what the writers do.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of different ways to do time travel. There's open loop, which is you can go back and change the future. Closed loop, you were always meant to do what you did. So you have your open loop stuff, which is like the Year of Hell. Closed loop would be like Time Zero or Trials and Tribulations. Tribulations. You've got your time loops, which are like cause and effect, or magic to make the sanest man go mad.
Yep.
And you've got stuff that's dubiously open loop, like Star Trek 4. Those whales could have been hunted and killed that day, or Kirk and crew were always destined to get them. Jillian Taylor may have lived a life later on, but maybe she was always meant to disappear after the whales did.
Mm-hmm.
Dubiously looped.
Yeah.
So, all kinds of narrative creativity taken with time travel to fit the needs of each writer.
Yes. You can do it to fit the needs of your show or movie. For example, Avengers Endgame basically kind of made a joke about time travel. Like, no, it's not like how it works in Back to the Future or Star Trek.
Time travel lied to us?
So it's open to, do the creative thing. So
just remember, the needs of the writers outweigh the needs of everyone, especially the many.
You're right. I think that if he stays, basically, if things shake out the way that you just explained it, I hope they don't do that. I know you're right. That's very, very possible. I just hope they don't go there with that.
You end up with like a 80-year-old Rios hanging out in Bozeman, Montana when First Contact happens.
Don't do that. Don't do that to me.
Or you spin off into a Star Trek Time Core TV show where Rios founds a group of aliens and supervisors to make sure that Earth's history unfolds appropriately. Spin off!
Well, before we get into more spinoffs, there's too many spinoffs already. So back to the FBI dark site field office. Now Wells is getting hostile. He's shouting at Picard. He's not convinced that Picard is from Earth. He knows that he's basically just knows that he's lying, and that he filled out the paperwork. Let's see here. All species have pain receptors, and he had filed the paperwork regarding the technology recovered in the clinic. So Wells trying to convince Picard that you want to talk to me. You don't want to talk to the guys up the line from me. Which, he said, well, they're on their way. And it's just kind of one of those tactics that, let me convince you that I'm on your side, that I'm your friend. Talk to me. You don't want the guys that are on their way to be the ones that take you away to talk to you. So now we're over to Guinan. The FBI agent and bunny ears that's come to interrogate her is Q. And he's not happy that
he does such a
she
good
tried
job
to
of
summon
just
him.
looking disgusted this whole time.
He's pissed.
He's just like, "Ugh." And I like that she's still doing the claws.
Yeah, the claw thing. Yeah. So basically, he doesn't like being summoned. It's like, this is not a beeper. You don't just summon me for whatever. And seems to be something that just them having the ability to do that was not something that he bought into or was on board with during these. And was that what part of the negotiations, if any, were the peace talks between the Elorians and the Q would be that, well, here's an ability to summon one of us if you need something, but
maybe there were concessions in order to leverage a favor and to just hold that favor over the continuum, so the continuum would never try to screw with the Elorians again.
Right, yeah. So this conversation between Q and Guinan has a lot of similarity to what we found in the Voyager episode with the Q that we refer to as Quinn. Off the top of your head, do you remember the name of that episode? I'm drawing a blank.
Death Wish.
That's right. Yeah. So we know that the Q can eliminate each other. They can kill each other. But that episode of Voyager that Q was in was the first time we dealt with a Q that was done with that immortality. Wanted to be euthanized, wanted to die. He was finished with the whole experience, and Q had thought that they were immortal, but he feels as if, when he knows that he's dying, and we've been talking about that this whole season as a theory that there's something wrong with Q, for sure. He seems to be really kind of off character from how we've seen him before, that there really has to be something that's got him bothered. And I know we kept thinking, all right, well, what would have him acting this way? And I don't recall if it was you or Renzo, was that he could be dying. He's losing his powers. Maybe that's what it is. And so finds out that we were right. So Q is dying.
He looked over the horizon of something and was compelled to it, and it was a mistake.
Right.
Turns out nobody liked that.
Yeah. So they're having their good old Q and Guinan back and forth, which I like. That was good. It was good to see that kind of thing that's there. And Q is really pissy. Like he claims that he did not bring Picard to the past, that Picard and crew did that themselves.
They did.
Yep. Yeah, they did. And Q is trapped there. And that really pisses off Q. So how did he? Okay, so let me think about this. It sounds like Q made his appearance in the past to do what he does. He kind of watches over and follows up on his subjects that he's putting through whatever trials or whatever you want to call it in. but then went and got himself stuck. Didn't know that was going to happen. Basically, he puts himself there, then loses his powers, I'm thinking. So he kind of marooned himself in the past with no way to get out. That's kind of what I was taking from this.
I think that he was on borrowed time and ended up here, and it was while he was here that those abilities ceased to work as effectively.
Right. Yep. You did it to yourself.
But how many times have we thought something about the show only to have something go haywire in the next episode?
Oh, yeah. All the time. I mean, it wouldn't be Star Trek if that didn't happen.
So what does Q say here as he's minutiating with Guinan?
Are you talking about he tried to snap his fingers?
Look.
And maybe he honestly tried to vaporize her, but couldn't. He really tried to,
I like that he kept snapping. They kept the snap. That was good.
Yeah. I'm glad that they didn't do anything with that. So I thought that was kind of funny. Like, here, I am trying to vaporize you right now. Can't. Now, so we go on to Act 3, back to the Soong household.
He tells her when he's leaving something important, that all humans are stuck in the past.
Oh, right. I forgot that part. Yeah.
Right.
They're all trapped in the past.
One of the moments. Comes back later.
Yes. Which you could see that. I think we're getting to where we can tell that something that's being said now, that's going to come up again later.
Yup.
So now we go back to the Soong household and the family issues there. So Corey's having it out with Dr. Soong about her being created and the others being failed experiments, and her name were all these different names for the same girl based on Persephone, daughter of Zeus, king of the gods, which I didn't know that. I mean, I'm a little lean on my Greek mythology. Yeah. And she starts calling him Dr. Soong rather than Dad because,
She's
I mean,
pissed.
Yes. And hell hath no fury like a teenage girl scorned. But, well, no, she's not a teenager. She's
in her
older,
20s. But hell hath no fury like somebody who just found out their whole life was a profiteering lie.
Doesn't quite roll off the tongue, but yes.
There's a few more syllables.
So we get into all the science-y stuff, which for those of you that really want to know, I'll put you to sleep here. Soong tells her that she was created through somatic nuclear cell transfer and gestated in a proprietary medium.
That means she was a test tube baby.
Yes. Basically, test tube baby.
All proprietary medium means is a fluid that I made.
Yeah, basically. And so he goes on to explain that the survival rate, basically, long story short, is it went up. Started going up with each experiment and then went up exponentially and got to Corey when she survived a lot longer. And he wasn't expecting her to live past age 6. So not only did she survive, but she thrived. And this kind of goes again that Corey points out what you and I said earlier was that she thinks that she's only a success to him, not someone to love.
Right.
Which is exactly what we were saying. And of course, Soong tries to say that he does love her. But Corey says, you only loved your work, not me. And he gets into the whole God complex pretty quickly. And I think really shows how he feels about her. was that I created you. It was my will. So he kind of asserts that I brought you into this world, I can take you out of it, kind of thing, really. And I was kind of surprised by that. Like, if you're trying to convince her that you love her as an actual person, as a daughter, he kind of quickly did a 180 on, okay, I'm going to claim that I love you, but it is by my will that you're here, and yada yada yada. So that kind of seals it for me that he's more that we're right. It's more that, and she's right. He loves his work. He loves his success. That success being in the form of a tangible person standing in front of you, sure. But he kind of went to that well of this was my work. You are my work. I created you. This is my legacy, kind of thing. So increase the father-daughter tiff. Made it a little worse, I think. And she's pissed, so she storms off. And yeah, that's Sung is very much upset.
You can screw off. I'm leaving.
Right. Yeah. And then she let's see what we got. Before asking if it wasn't actually Sung who couldn't exist without her, as she walks away from him, Sung stands frozen in rage, both at Corey's defiance and who he realizes must have given her the cure. So
cure with
now
a capital Q.
Yes. I like that. So yeah, she's become very defiant, which Sung is not happy with. And sure, no parent is happy with their child being defiant. It happens with all of us. But this is kind of different because to him, it's like this is my property is being defiant against me. My work is being defiant against me and has backfired on me.
Let's go back 200 years and talk about the kind of people who might think about that kind of sayings.
Yes.
Not cool, man.
Right. Exactly. And so he's kind of personifying that person that believes that another person is their creation, their property, you're here to do with as I please and as I wish. So yeah, very good point there. So meanwhile, going back to the Raffi and Seven piece of the mission, they're recovering from the attack, and basically they know that the Queen could have easily killed Raffi. So Seven is trying to sell Raffi on there's still something to save here, that Jurati is still in there trying to fight, but she's finding ways. She knows that Jurati is trying to get the resources together to kind of create her own collective. So let's see here, and
there's a sign up there that says Vive les Gaistes.
What's that mean?
I don't know what it means. I don't know what Gaiste means in Spanish.
Right. And this is where Raffi admits to Seven, because Seven challenged her with manipulating people.
Right.
With Raffi being manipulative and just doing what she wants and able to convince you that it was your idea. And she gets Raffi basically to admit that Elnor was contacted by Zani, that he was needed back on Vashti, and he was going to delay his studies for a year at the academy. But
he was going to go to back there, and yeah,
Raffi talked him out of it. Kind of kept him there, and now she feels like she's the reason why he's now dead, because she got selfish and didn't want him to leave. So now it's looking like she's kind of paying the price for her sheer effing hubris.
There's just so much stuff.
There is. And I knew that the Elnor's death really hit Raffi pretty hard. Now you know it's even harder with this coming out, that the reason he was there was because you talked him into staying.
Yeah.
And now you are directly the reason. Okay,
Indirectly the reason why he died.
Yes, that's not directly, indirectly the reason why he died. If you had not intervened, he would very well be alive right now.
True.
So now she has to live with that you indirectly killed someone. So back to the Soong household, and 3 guesses what Soong has done to go find his solace and comfort in life at the bottom of the bottle. So he's drinking, he's drowning his pain and anguish in alcohol. This guy was day drinking, so of course he's blended.
Definitely blended.
Definitely blended. Oh, you're blended, all right.
And there at the top again, with this circular metaphor above the head of the Borg Queen in Agnes, is Agnes. I still think this is the second time. This is the second time they've had her at the top of an area above everybody else with some kind of round thing over her head, very much like, it's not a direct reference to a Borg alcove, but the Borg all had those circles over their heads while they were regenerating, and here's a queen with all the circular imagery at the top of the stairs.
Yep,
it's intentional. The cinematography is absolutely intentional here.
Yeah, it is. So shall we go back to the interrogation room?
Do we go back to the interrogation room?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. So Wells is grilling Picard about the gala for the Europa mission. And Picard sees Guinan doing a force projection into the room. And she's talking about all humans are stuck in the past. That's the hint. They're all stuck in the past. So that gives Picard some ammunition now to find out what is motivating Wells to do and be what he's doing. So it takes us back to that night that we saw right at the very beginning of the episode with the Vulcans. And he talks about the alien touching his face, and and so Picard says, was it like this? And he does the hand placement of when you're doing a mind meld, and basically he told him what they're trying to do was to erase your memory of that event. Obviously it did not work. So that is why, and now we find out that is why he's been so adamant, that Wells has been so adamant about them being aliens, because he's literally seen them. He's experienced an encounter with aliens, and what happens to anyone and everyone that claims that they saw an alien? They're laughed at. It's nothing. No one is taken seriously whatsoever. And the more you push it, the more you try to convince others that you really did see aliens and whatnot, you're going to get thrown into a loony bin. You're going to get laughed out of the place. You're going to be the drunk dude crop dusting in a little town because you swear that they're aliens and everyone thinks they're not until they come and attack the planet like they did in Independence Day.
Nice reference.
Yes. Now I'm full of references.
So, beef?
Mm-hmm.
Beef.
Okay. Dag's
Beef.
got beef. Oh, usually I've got beef.
Dag's
okay.
got beef. Dag's
I'm excited
beef.
about this.
Dag's beef.
Let's hear it.
It's the 1970s, for lack of, a detail. That he's like 10. The actor was born in 62, so let's call it the 70s. It's the 70s. There's Vulcans. One of these might be Mestral. That would be kind of cool if it was the guy from Carbon Creek. But
Sure.
Let's move forward. What do we know of the Enterprise Vulcans and mind melds?
That is...
It's kind of a taboo, faux pas, looked down upon.
Yeah, I was trying to find
It's not done in polite society, but some people can do it.
Yes, I was trying to think of a good way to say, but you're right. It's looked at as you're in the minority. You're a freak. It's not.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's like masturbating on an airplane. It's not legal, but it's frowned upon. Not against the law, but it's frowned upon.
That far, but yeah. So the
now we're making a Hangover reference.
The Enterprise Vulcans, 200 years later or whatever, are looking down on people who mind meld. But here, it's kind of okay. Like that dude just like real quick, like, hey, but some stretching there. Okay, fine. Maybe it's okay if you're off-world and you need to erase a memory or 5. That's okay. That's okay. Number 2, where were the Vulcan transporters during Enterprise when Enterprise was trying to perfect their own transporters?
Well, Vulcan was always holding back on their technology. They wanted humans to figure out things on their own. So Vulcan just kind of became observers.
So they were going to entrust human tech with their sub-commander?
I mean...
I know. You're doing the exact same thing I do, where you're just like, I'm trying to make it work. Stop asking questions. I get you. But I want to throw that out there because I want people thinking about this. Like, maybe that taboo is relatively new in Vulcan culture. But the weird thing about that is that Vulcans live for like 200 years, so a new taboo would not be generational. I don't really know.
Maybe it wasn't a big deal at that point. We don't know that. We don't know when the mind meld became a taboo thing. But let's just say whether it was or wasn't, whatever kind of prime directive you have on the Vulcan side, you've now had a pre-warp member of civilization come upon you and see you. What are your options? You eliminate the target. You use the ability that you have for mind wiping. That's pretty much your only choice, is to take the kid with you and instead of leaving him there. Like, okay, you saw us, you're coming back with us. I don't think that there were a lot of options, and taboo or not, the mind meld thing was like, okay, this is it. This is what we're gonna have to do.
It's hard to question the efficacy of a mind meld under those conditions. I agree.
Yeah. So,
but it was a good move by Picard to get this out of this guy.
It was. So now Picard is able to kind of soften the dude up and find out why this was such a hot topic for him, why he's basically devoted his life to this. And once he finally got some solid evidence in his mind that he was right, he was not going to let that go. He wasn't letting go of that.
Picard's like, I am human. I'm just from the 25th century.
He's right, though. Like, technically, I'm not an alien. I'm just from the future. I'm a synth, but that's a long story.
No. I was born in Iowa. I only work in outer space.
Like, oh, buddy, you don't know how many of us have been here already before. So I still think that there was some missed opportunity here of tying in this character to be the same character that this actor played on Voyager, and also from time ship relativity.
That twist. I mean, they named him Wells, which was the Wells class ship, and then they were like, all humans are stuck in the past, and we're just like, what? Are we going for it? And then we're not.
Right. I know. I was like, we're going for it. We're going for it. Oh.
Nope. We're not going for it.
It was dangled at us like
so much dangling. It's like they do that because they know it'll hype us up, and then it breaks our hearts.
They know what we're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. And so that hyped
But you
us
know
up.
what? You know what? He talks about it being in his childhood, but like, what if it happened like 800 years in the future and he's still Duquesne?
Yeah.
He didn't say it was the 70s. He just said when I was a kid, and the Vulcans were like, shit, he spoiled the surprise for his birthday, mind meld him, and then he got stuck in the past and he can't remember anything because the Vulcan's mind, I don't know.
And as a prank, they took him back in time as a kid, dropped him off.
Hey,
told you.
Your boss, Captain Braxton, we need you to keep an eye on him while he's stranded in the past. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, that'd be like two dudes from the same ship, both getting stuck in the late 20th century. That's kind of bogus for them.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's like, dude, we fucked up good here.
There's hell, and then there's the late 20th century.
Yeah. Oh, man. So,
we get back to La Serena?
La Serena.
Confederate La Serena.
Confederate La Serena. Yes. So Rios is still working on the transporters to get them back online, because if he can't, they'd have to rendezvous back the old-fashioned way, buying plane tickets or, something. Ride a bus. I don't know. Well, you can't ride a bus from here to France, but you know what I'm saying. So Ricardo, little boy, had just touched one of the controls, asked if he broke it when the computer reports the transporter was offline, and he just says something else happened. Contacts Raffi and says they've got a big problem, and asks if Picard was still missing. So now we've got the transporter that's all fouled up and could further make things very difficult, because now you take a chance on marooning people in a spot where you've got no money, you can't get to France, that's where your ship is. Not only is our ship broke, we can't travel back to the future, but now we've got people that are stuck in the US. We can't get them back to the ship because they have no money to buy a plane ticket, yada. So it's just, this thing's just getting worse.
Take a boat to Gravetta Island and settle down.
Yeah, stay out of history's way.
If Gravetta even exists yet, because it's one of those volcanic islands that pops up and cools off. So Gravetta Island may not even have been a thing until 10 years before First Contact.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Absolutely.
So duper lame.
So again, back to the interrogation rooms. This is a lot of talking back and forth between Picard and Guinan, and she tells him that Q came to her, talking about not just Picard but all humans and what was special about them. And Picard thinks it's their inability to escape the past. But Guinan thinks that when something is broken inside them, it stays with them. And you stay in the past until you can reconcile it, which I like. That statement is that it's not always so much that we live in the past, but maybe we try to figure out how to correct it, how to fix it so that we don't make the same mistakes over and over again, even though we do have a tendency of knowing exactly where we fucked up and then do it again, knowing that that's where you're going. It's like you're predestined to repeat those things, and the only thing that's different is you're aware that you're doing it instead of not being aware. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, really.
I got emissary vibes from that conversation. Like, you exist here.
Yeah.
People are stuck in the past. They exist in their moments of pain. They exist in their moments of frustration. You know, we mull over stuff that we effed up on a bunch. We're like, oh man, I should not have said that. That was messed up. Or like 6 weeks later, you're like, oh man, when I was in that fight, I totally should have said this. That would have set him off even more. Like, we exist in the past. And it just means that as humans, we're constantly mulling over things that we have done to others and things others have done to us to not be in those situations, and for many of us to not be those people anymore.
So here, I'll give you a good story about living in the past, which is exactly what we do, live in the past. So I was in college. It was going into my third year up there at Ohio State, living in an apartment complex, right? There was this really pretty girl that lived like a door or two down, really hot. Well, she asked me if I could like come and fix her door, like door and door frame, something like that. And so I bring my screwdrivers, my tools, fix it, and I'm like, oh, there you go. And then leave. 20 years later, it hits me that, oh my God, I wasn't just there to fix the door. Because I remember thinking, there's nothing wrong with the bloody thing. But, tighten a couple screws. So, yeah, living in the past there. Like, how I was really that stupid. Blew it. And how often have you heard that kind of story? It's happened to every guy I know. Happens to all of us, That one shot you had 20, 30 years ago, it hits you like a ton of bricks. So now you're living in the past. What's yours, Dag? What's your didn't dawn on you until decades later kind of moment? What's your past you're living in? Let's get deep. Beyond Therapy podcast. And Dag blue screened.
Well, I'm not used to having those kinds of conversations in the podcast, so like I had to access my highest self.
Yeah.
To quote.
Yeah. Oh, it could be something simple, like book. Yeah. What I just told there was like another one of them college stories. I'm not talking about.
I don't know if I have any simple stuff. Like, stuff happened to me when I was a kid that drove a lot of my behaviors through my teens and 20s. And I didn't realize it till like my mid-30s that there was basically someone else with their hand on the wheel. And I needed to recognize that and like take that hand off and then put it in its place. And it was like there was something that needed to be worked out there. A kink in the muscle group, but it was more metaphorical than just a muscle group kink. But once you straighten it out, you become aware of it, it flows a bit better.
Sure.
But it still always wants its damn hand on the wheel.
Yeah. gotta try to keep that hand off,
Yeet.
you know. And this is funny. So Picard asks how long before the launch, and Guinan points out she's sensitive to the space-time continuum, not a clock.
Yeah.
She's not a clock. So apparently Wells, he comes in with a box of stuff, and he got booted. He got fired. 'Cause he was the man who cried alien, and I guess did that too many times, and they let him go. And basically Wells confessed he lied about this paperwork and all that being filed. If he had given the proof, he would have been sidelined, and Picard and Guinan would have been handed over to the military, which very true. So I think that in his motivation there, he feels that he wants to be right for him. He wants his peace of mind that I'm not crazy. There are aliens. It's not just me, and sure there are. I think it's probably. Let me go out on a limb and say that whether it be the Vulcans or some other warp capable species besides when humans were warp capable, that there's probably been some interaction with a advanced society that's been made with some human or humans on Earth. I'm talking who watches the watchers kind of thing. They're observing, could be some clandestine operation, shit just goes off the rails, and now you've got persons who have seen who you really are that should not. And how do you mitigate that issue? So I'm willing to bet that this is not the first time. This was not the first time something like this happened, and probably not just with the Vulcans. You know, who knows? But what has happened is we've built the self-built culture anyway, that we are so convinced we are the only intelligent life in the universe. But anyone who tries to say otherwise or claim that they have proof to the contrary, they're crazy people. Lock them up, put them in a straitjacket, et cetera, et cetera. That's how dug in our heels are on that. So I feel that for Wells, this was a personal thing. And sure, it looked like he wanted to kind of wave that flag with anyone who would listen, that I'm not crazy, I'm right. I've got proof that there are extraterrestrial life. But you know, again, came up this one last time, and he got let go. They were kind of tired of hearing about it. And based on his actions here now, I think that he didn't want anything bad to happen to them, but he was dead set on getting that affirmation that yes, what you saw is what happened. You did see alien life, and they are out there. And this lady is an alien, but I am not. I'm just from the future. But anyway, it confirmed for him what he thought. People probably called him crazy his entire life. And now he has that internal affirmation of, okay, I feel better because I'm not crazy. I was right.
Validation goes a long way, my dude.
Yes. Validation is a very powerful drug. So yeah, that's we find out why he was so dogged on them and pushing and pressing whatever he needed to do, short of torture, interrogation. You know, that he was gonna get that truth. So I'm sure he feels better for that. And now, So he lets him out. And I wonder if he's going to continue to play a part in their mission. Is this the last scene we've seen of Wells, or does he get a payoff as a character to continue to be a part of what's going on here, or was this it?
We'll find out.
What's that? Say that again?
I said we'll find out.
Yeah. In a way, I almost think that it would be, if we came into this episode before we talked about it saying that we think the last thing this whole adventure needs is added derailment. If the character that this was it, and I'm not saying that I necessarily want to see the character more, but it would make this episode feel a lot less like this whole thing was all fluff. The entire backbone of this episode, with Guinan and Picard being in this FBI room, like, the payoff that happened for this episode was a payoff for this dude. Wasn't a payoff for Picard, Guinan, Raffi, Seven, Rios. None of them. So
this dude goes off to start Section 31. I mean, he knows now. He's got confirmation. He knows they exist. And all he needs to do, and he's got FBI contacts, all he needs to do is tap into the tinfoil out there that's kind of reasonable and be like, we need an organization that's going to protect humanity.
I'm sure he knows some people with QAnon and other conspiracy theorists.
I said reasonable. I said reasonable tinfoil hats.
Right. Yeah, you did. You said reasonable. Okay. You stopped me in my tracks, made me think there. If this dude is...
I mean, again, and we're thinking along the lines of, like, getting the payoff. You know, there's in all likelihood we never see this guy again, and then it just makes you wonder, like, what was the whole point of the FBI scene anyway if that was that? Right.
So I'm not crazy in thinking that if they leave it like this, and the payoff was just this dude getting his validation,
the payoff was to continue to hamper Picard.
Yeah. Just to have it tied up in more mud to try to trudge through to keep this plot going. So That's just me. I think that...
I think it's valid.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's kind of one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't, because exactly what role is he going to play in this train wreck of trying to not mess up the future? Can't really think of it. You know, they've already got a tag along of Teresa and her son, whose name I forgot again already.
Sadite.
Ricardo. So you've already got a couple 2024 tag-alongs. Do they need another? But see, that's the problem, is if he remains, it feels unnecessary. If he doesn't, then the episode feels like it was not necessary, or at least the part of the whole FBI thing.
Paradox.
So it's a paradox. It's like, it's no good if he stays, it's no good if he goes.
If it's a narrative, if it's a narrative paradox, is it a narradox?
Yeah, okay. You heard it here first, folks. A narradox.
I invented a word and no one's ever going to say it. In fact, a lot of people are listening are like, oh, Dag, no.
We've invented a few words here in our travels on this podcast, and none of them have gone mainstream yet. But that doesn't mean we're going to stop trying. So there's that. Now we're back in Soong's lab.
Back at the lab.
Back to the lab. Girardi Queen is using the computer there to access network, talking about the primitive satellites, and she reveals to him that he is quite famous in the version of the future she comes from, asking who else had more to gain or lose than he did. So now,
this is where it really shines that he doesn't care about Kore. That he was always ever in it for fortune first and legacy second, but maybe a very close second. This is a man who is afraid to be nothing. And if he can be wealthy and be nothing, well, at least he's wealthy. But if he can be wealthy and leave an enduring legacy that goes 400 years in the future, how badass is that?
Yeah.
How many other people, how many founders of our modern society have statues named after them today, 400 years later? How many people from the 1600s have statues?
He wants to have a statue. He wants to
He has one.
have that.
He has his statue in San Francisco Bay in the future.
Yep.
And he's reaching his hand to the stars, and he's... Wait. Wrong statue.
You told him about the statue? So she plays to this ego of him is, if you do this path, you're going to be famous, father of the future. The world is going to turn to you. You lose a daughter, but you become godfather to a world.
Right.
If you don't do this
world.
thing, right? Exactly.
He basically becomes godfather to a world on like
life support.
Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to say. A world on life support.
And she tells him that he's at a fork in the proverbial road with two futures. In one, he brings humanity back from the edge of extinction and will be called the father of the future, with statues and capital cities all over Earth. In the other, he dies alone, no glory, forgotten in a pool of his own 90-proof vomit. So she plays to that. Yeah.
90-proof vomit.
Yeah.
That's like 45% alcohol.
Like moonshine? Or no, I think.
Is it? Wait, no, because
maybe it must be. I think slower than.
Proof goes to 200 proof.
Right. So if it's 90 proof, it's 45% alcohol. I'm just
right.
trying to
Yeah.
think,
Yeah. No, I got that.
What is that high in alcohol content?
I don't know. 90 proof is like Fireball. It's way less than like that one Bacardi that there is. Anyway, we don't need to talk about alcohol in this show. We just know that 90 proof is high-ish.
Isopropyl rubbing alcohol. So there's that. Stuff you put in your car. I'm sure if it's something you can drink, it's probably something you can get in Kentucky.
Can I cut isopropyl with Sprite?
Is it good like that?
I don't know. How should I know? I'm a doctor, not an alcoholic. I'm not a doctor either. I'm a podcaster.
Which is better, right?
Yeah.
Vodka. So I'm seeing here basically, vodka, bourbon. So essentially the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Which
45 proof. 45% is
if you're drinking that, you want to forget
rums,
stuff.
Your vodkas. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not sipping on that. You're having mimosas every morning. So she plays. She manipulates that ego in him.
Yeah, she does.
To try to manipulate him.
It works because he's a freaking egomaniac underneath it all.
You know what? You know what surprises me every time we see a soon.
It's still Brent Spiner?
No, not that. Yes, but actually no. It's that this family ends up being the ones that creates Data. And Data is such a wholesome android when he's not being hacked. It just kind of seems like every Soon we have seen has had. I take that back.
Alton wasn't terrible.
Noonien Soong, the father of Lore, Data, and B4, he didn't seem, and I get that we're talking about hundreds of years difference, but for the most part, the Soongs definitely kind of, how do I describe them? They've always had a portion of, I want to say, ego to them, God complex. And when you really think about it, they're not wrong. They've been able to do things that no one else has been able to do. For example, Noonien Soong, he is the only one who's been able to create Android with positronic brain, and he did it 3 times, and no one else has ever been able to replicate it. He's done it 3 times.
4 times.
4.
Data,
Lore, Data,
B4, and Juliana Taylor.
Yeah. Duh. Right. So when you think about it, I've done something 4 times that no one else has been able to duplicate, and they've tried, even with all the technology at their disposal. So is all this knowledge and information something that is just kept compartmentalized? Like the Soongs create these medical technological advancements and then essentially sequester that info, that job security, that I'm not going to provide you with the instructions or means to make this, or yes, here are the instructions and means to make it, but that doesn't mean it's going to work. I'll give you a perfect example. There's this recipe for collard greens that my mom used to make. I mean, it had a reputation being the best. I mean, you'd have people asking for it. It was great. She gave the recipe to my then second wife, duplicated that recipe step by step perfectly. It did not come out the way that my mom made it. It followed everything to the letter. And we're like, what happened here? What it should, and you're trying to figure out that, okay, you can have detailed instructions and ingredients, components, whatever, but it doesn't mean that you're going to have the same thing as you do here. And what we thought was, it was probably the pot she was using. You know, the pots kind of have their own contribution to the taste of something. So maybe something like that the Soongs have this knowledge and have done these things, but regardless of leaving behind any documentation, paperwork, instructions, that you get something like what I just said. You can have all of it, but not get it. It doesn't work. Got you thinking there, huh? So I think it's just, to me, it almost feels like there's a disconnect between Data and what we know of him too. Lore is the best representation of the Soong family. Yeah. He was pretty much the one in the personality that matches. Data doesn't quite match what we know now of how those guys have typically acted. That's my opinion. I may be wrong.
I don't disagree. I think Lore is definitely the personification of the Soongs as we've come to see them, but I think that Data and Alton have kind of broken the mold on that. But I'm curious to see if there is some kind of payoff with this Borg Queen Soong alliance now towards that future of all the Soongs looking alike. That's really all I want. I need a ham-fisted explanation that's like, well, if I can't grow somebody else's kid, I'm just gonna preserve my own neurology in these cells, and I'm just gonna continually clone myself until I get it right.
If there's anyone on the writing team Well, no, it doesn't matter because these episodes have all already been filmed and produced in the can. So I was about to say,
Yeah.
if you are a writer or know someone who is that's happened to be listening to this, please don't do that. Don't give us an in-world explanation as to why every Soong looks like Brent Spiner. Why they all have that same resemblance. Don't go all Klingon smooth head versus Klingon ridge head in-universe explanation to something that didn't need to be explained and just painted yourself in a corner with. We do not speak of it to outsiders. Famous last words that you could have left the whole thing with 60s Klingons versus modern Klingons alone, but one writer in the DS9 writing room wanted to get cute, got cute, and threw fandom into turmoil for years to come. Wow. If you're the guy that wrote that line, how do you sleep at night? Knowing that you caused so much of an uproar. I don't know. So let's go and finish the last part of this episode. We're back at 10 Forward Avenue. So Picard and Guinan have met up with Raffi and Seven, talk about what Jurati Queen has done, and joining forces with Soong. Picard reasons that why she would do that was to take the ship herself. And Seven points out that once she has 400-year jumpstart to that she would have 400-year jumpstart to assimilating the galaxy. Geez, I cannot talk tonight. So Picard suggests using Talon's transporter. Guinan wishes Picard luck. Guinan and Picard share a warm goodbye before leaving. As they walk out of the bar, Seven warns Picard that the Jurati Queen will be able to assimilate people. When she comes for La Sirena, she will not be alone. So now we start seeing the start of Jurati Queen creating her own collective. Got together some ex-special forces, some mercenaries, and assimilated them. So now it starts. Now on top of everything else, you're going to have these ex-special forces people that
tactical
are now
drones.
Or right, tactical drones. Yeah. Wow. So things aren't getting any better. Now simulations have started, and now you've got a Borg Queen and a crazy scientist that are going to this guy's going to do what he can do to preserve his glorified future. Gonna be about him, which I think the Borg Queen found
She's just exploiting that promise. She's totally gonna take over the world and not give a fuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's what Borg Queens do. And this is what I see happening. We have 2 episodes left. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's my 2 episodes left prediction is that it's going to be, I hope it's not this, but it's going to be one of those cliched Soong sees the wrong in his ways by being manipulated by the Queen because she backstabs him, and now he's learned his valuable lesson and wants to help correct the problems he's made. I think that's a bit on the cliche side, but I have this funny feeling that that's where we're going. Please tell me I'm wrong.
No. Because I don't know, man. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, final thoughts on this episode?
I'm trying not to go with my gut that this is episode number 4 of filler.
So you think it's filler?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Ultimately, I think it was a filler episode, just like the last 3 episodes have been filler episodes. If this had been Star Trek 4, they would have taken that scene where everybody was like, they would have taken that scene where Scotty showed up at that Plexicor place and expanded it so that Scotty had to take a cab, but then the cab got in an accident, so Scotty had to walk. But as he was walking along, he tripped and fell in a sewer, and so he had to crawl his way out before he even gets to Plexico. Like, that's how I think that if this had been like a Star Trek 4 metaphor, all of those missions to go to the military, to the Enterprise to get the high energy photons to recrystallize the dilithium, to go to Plexico to get
nuclear vessels,
to get the plastic or the transparent aluminum. Well, they didn't actually get transparent. They traded the chemical formula of transparent aluminum for 6-inch thick plastic so they could contain the whales on the bird of prey. Then we have to go and get the whales. But like all of those missions were fairly successful. But like Scotty would have gone all through what I just said to get there, to trade the formula, to have the scientists go, well, now that I have the formula, what do I need you for? And then gets them arrested. And then you just like all of that, that's what this season is. It's how did Scotty get to Plexico? And all of the bad things that happened that we didn't see in Star Trek The Voyage Home.
And how the hell exactly did Chekhov and Uhura get onto this naval aircraft carrier?
Well, they talk about that when we were beam in, collect the photons, and beam out. And nothing will be simpler than that. So I mean, okay, you beamed in, you beamed out. That's fine.
Okay.
The issue is,
you're right. There would have been hijinks all along the way if this were.
Yeah, it would have been incredible hijinks. And I mean, it's not like we have a Borg Queen running amok that escalates the stakes. But, it'd have been like if Spock goes to reach over to pinch the punk on the bus, and he pulls a gun and shoots Spock, and now we've got green blood everywhere, and we have to take Spock to the hospital. And
oh shit!
Just make it as horrible as possible. And that's kind of how I'm feeling is happening. Everything has been hijinxed. We still don't know what the ultimate play is. We know at the end of the 10th episode, Girardi Queen's going to show up. We are on the path to there. We can see that happening. Okay, got it. But, nothing consequential is happening. It's just one flub after another keeping them from fulfilling this mission. Now I'm excited to watch it happen. I'm excited to see what Girardi does with these mercenaries, because we're in the last 2 episodes. And we know they're going to siege La Sirena. They want to take over La Sirena, and it'd be really easy to shoot down an orbiter or a Europa mission from space with your spaceship. But I
get what you're saying. It feels more like a series of unfortunate events, and it's just I don't know. I can't even put it into words.
I get you.
Like, what even is going to be the payoff to all the hijinks? Where's it leading us? But they're going to make us sit until rolling the end credits on the last episode before we see what all the tangles and threads add up to.
I sure hope so.
Yeah. Wait till in fact, have an after credit scene, and that's what explains what's happened in the whole season. Yeah, just do that.
Just do an interview with the writers to be like, all right, so here's what's happening behind the scenes, and they explained it in an hour, and you're like, so why didn't you just write that down and make it the episode? I mean, like Time Zero was 2 episodes, right? But that could have been way more drawn out.
Sure.
And I feel like a lot of this stuff that's happening here, if it isn't plot threads that don't culminate in the last episode, it's gonna be disappointing, because what's the point of having all of these adventures if it doesn't pay off in the end? And then there's the flip side of that, which is like the adventures are making these opportunities for personal growth, which is fine. but it doesn't mean anything if they also don't pay off in the end. Like, and I don't know, maybe that's just me, and maybe that's just like my approach to writing and to being a television addict. But
I agree with you. I'm right there with you.
it's like, why go through all of this stuff? And I mean, there's something to be said. Why go through all of this crap if all I get out of it is some mental health? Okay, there's when you put it like that, I sound like a jerk. I get that. But this is a TV show, and it's science fiction, and it's an action adventure kind of thing, and it is Star Trek, and it's time travel, and to do time travel good, you really have to plant those seeds to let the conclusion flow really nicely. You know, in First Contact, nobody beamed a Borg drone down and started assimilating the Earth while we were assimilating the Enterprise, and Riker was virtually free to just help Cochrane. And sure, Cochrane like ran off, and they brought him back, but they didn't. They spent an hour looking for Cochrane. That would have been a whole episode of where's Cochrane. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right.
You know, it'd be like watching 24.
Oh my, yeah.
In the Star Trek edition, where it's just like, Hour 1, assess the damage from the Borg. Hour 2, get those clothes on and beam down to, the Montana base. Hour 3, assess the damage of the Montana base and find out who the drunk is that keeps playing the music really loud. Hour 4, figure out how a jukebox works. Hour 5, you get me?
And every episode ends with ding, ding.
Weird,
ding,
yeah,
ding.
weird cameo by Kiefer Sutherland. Not sure what that's about.
Oh my god. But yeah, you're right. So basically what you're saying is it could be worse.
Yeah, but I'm sticking with it because I want to see it.
I do. I have the feeling that this season has given me so far is different from this most recent season of Discovery, where every episode truly felt like a step in that chain to get from point A to point G.
Okay.
It hit every point to get there, whereas with this season of Picard, it's just kind of felt like, doing figure eights in midair of like, okay, where's this leading? What's this plot thread doing?
Yeah.
And that's what was the point of? Yeah, they're this whole FBI subplot. We're sitting here wondering, when we look back on it, what was the point of it? And we won't know that until the end of the season, where we may go back and see, okay, there was a good point for this because it paid out here. Or, okay, now that we're done with the season, that was fluff. That didn't play in anything. And there could be other parts that we've seen so far in this season that would just be, it was nothing more than hijinks. And I understand that with the time period they're in, the stuff that has happened that they've done are very realistic. I get that. You have these problems. You have someone that gets hurt, ends up in a free clinic, is unfortunately a foreigner, gets taken to, gets wrapped up with ice. It's going to be put in a cage. That stuff is all very realistic. That's literally what's happening. I just like it's all realistic what they're doing based on this time period. It is. I just want to see it all play out and pay off eventually. So yeah, I think that's,
I'm with you, man.
That's it. Yeah. So you want to close us out?
Yeah, we'll be back in 1 week to talk about episode 9 coming up. Yeah, that's a wrap. And if you've gotten this far, thank you for always going boldly with Beyond Trek Podcast. Hey everybody, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our Patreon and Anchor supporters. Big thanks to Stephanie Baker, S. Tam, Anne Marie, Jim Cook, and Nora Hickson. We really appreciate your support. Thanks for being a part of Beyond Trek Podcast.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your ears. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.